Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are exploring something so deeply purposeful. We're talking about time management, but specifically, we're looking at how it's framed within an Islamic context. We're going to analyze a framework that offers this absolutely fascinating perspective on productivity, purpose, and really the true value of every single passing moment. Okay, let's dive into this 24. It's literally the great equalizer of human existence, right? Every single one of us, doesn't matter where you live, what your background is, or what you do for a living, we all get exactly 24 hours in a day. That sets the baseline for our entire discussion today. But the source material we're unpacking here, it asks us to look at those 24 hours through a much more elevated lens. It's not just about, hacking your way to inbox zero. It's about the very purpose of those hours.
Which brings us to Section 1, the trust of time, and why this is about way more than just ticking clocks. So, from the Islamic perspective, time isn't just this physical measurement of the Earth spinning around the sun, and it's definitely not just a tool for modern efficiency. It's fundamentally viewed on a totally different spiritual plane. It's considered a divine trust, a gift from Allah, sure, but equally, and this is wild to think about, it acts as a literal witness to our actions. And critically, once it passes, there's no rewind button. It never returns. This completely shifts the concept of time from just passing minutes into this incredibly heavy, profound responsibility. The text actually points out that the Quran explicitly reminds believers that time itself will bear witness against people who waste it in negligence. The only exceptions are those who believe, do good deeds, and remind each other of truth and patience.
And because time acts as an active witness, it leads us straight to this really powerful idea. Success in Islam is directly connected to how we use our time. You literally cannot separate your spiritual life from your practical, everyday scheduling here. According to this framework, your ultimate spiritual success isn't just about what's in your heart or having good intentions. It is practically measured day by what you physically do with the actual hours and minutes you are given on this earth.
Let's move to and see how this builds in Section 2, the ultimate role model, the Prophet's perfect balance. To see how all this high-level theory actually works in practice, we just look at Prophet Muhammad. Now, he wasn't just a spiritual leader who retreated to a mountain away from the world. He was simultaneously a family man, a teacher, a judge, a community leader, and literally a guide for humanity. I mean, think about the immense, overwhelming daily responsibilities that entails. Yet the source highlights that he managed all of these competing, high-stress demands perfectly. He did it with absolute wisdom and incredible discipline.
So the crucial point is really a deep distinction here. Look at the difference between being busy and being unorganized. The text points out something we all need to hear. Having a ton of stuff to do, being incredibly busy, is not actually the problem. The real problem, the thing that completely derails our productivity and our spiritual goals, it's simply a lack of organization.
And that brings us to Section 3, Salah, the built-in schedule.
So how exactly does Islam solve this universal problem of being unorganized? Well, it provides a literal, built-in, divine time-blocking system. We're talking about the 5 daily prayers, starting at dawn with Fajr, moving right through midday, afternoon, sunset, and finally night with Isha. These are not viewed merely as isolated little spiritual rituals to just check off your to-do list, not at all. Salah naturally anchors the entire day. The author explains that this naturally teaches discipline, punctuality, and a constant rolling awareness of time. It creates these highly meaningful sections that literally force a person to pause, realign, and structure their daily routine around purposeful milestones, rather than just aimlessly drifting through the day. But, of course, there is a pretty sharp contrast with how a lot of us actually live today. We easily fall into these modern pitfalls, don't we? Wasting hours scrolling social media, getting sucked into endless entertainment, doing totally unnecessary activities, and then at the end of the day regretfully sighing, "Man, I just had no time." But the reality slaps us right back to our baseline. We all have the exact same 24 hours. The entire difference, the only differentiator, lies in how we choose to utilize those blocks of time. To help us make better choices with those blocks, we look to Section 4, the priority matrix. What comes first? And this brilliantly illustrates the clear hierarchy of priorities needed to maintain balance and dodge those modern distractions. Step 1 is your connection with Allah. That is the absolute non-negotiable foundation. Step 2 covers your responsibilities towards your family. Step 3 expands outward, hitting your broader duties in society. And finally, all the way down at Step 4, your personal desires. It's a beautifully balanced approach, but it has a very deliberate, strict order. The whole idea is that you simply do not skip ahead to your personal desires before fulfilling your spiritual, familial, and societal duties.
Why does this strict prioritization matter so much? Because every single minute matters. Even the small ones we completely brush off as insignificant. The text notes that the prophet specifically warned that on the day of judgment, individuals will be asked about their life and exactly how they spent their time. It's a level of absolute accountability that covers every single moment. It literally makes a seemingly wasted Sunday afternoon a matter of deep spiritual significance.
Pivoting from the philosophical to the highly practical, Section 5, Mastering Your Routine, the action plan. So, what steps should you actually be taking today?
Well, let's break down the action plan. First off, wake up early, especially for the Fajr dawn prayer, because the text emphasizes that there are specific, tangible blessings and major productivity to be found in those early morning hours. Second, set clear goals covering all the bases: learning, work, worship, and rest. Third, fiercely avoid procrastination. The source describes delaying good actions as this insidious thing that just slowly destroys your productivity. And finally, embrace purposeful rest. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is this critical distinction right here between wasting time and taking rest. The source makes it crystal clear. Rest is absolutely allowed. It's actually encouraged, but it has to be purposeful rest. It needs to be a pause that genuinely helps you recharge so you can become more productive, closer to your goals, and closer to Allah. It shouldn't just be some negligent, mindless waste of your life scrolling a feed. As we pull all these analytical threads together, the text uses this incredibly beautiful and sobering metaphor. Time is like a river. It never stops flowing. It's a stark reminder that we have a distinct choice while we are swimming in this river. We can either harness its current and its power to build our success in this world and the hereafter, or we can just sit back, float along, and let it pass us by forever, until it's simply too late to do anything about it. Which brings us to our final question for this explainer, rooted right back in that very first concept of time acting as an active witness. On the day of judgment, when the clock has permanently stopped and the river has finally reached the ocean, what will your time testify about you? It's a deeply profound thought to reflect on as you organize your remaining hours today. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.